All right, guys. So we got a special episode today. I'm not in the Laymen. I'm not on the Laymen couch.
You're just in the Laymen merch.
I'm in the Laymen merch. New merch actually in the store. Check it out. Now, Richard Heath. Now, we've been doing a podcast the last couple of weeks, and we thought today's topic was actually going to go. It's going to meld with what the audience that I have usually want to talk about. The future of gaming. So
yeah, it's a nice little crossover.
And you're my YouTube manager or whatever. You know?
Yeah. So we've been doing a podcast. How many weeks now? Like probably 8 or 9.
6 or 9.
Yeah.
Nice. This is not going to be a mature debate. Together. I just needed to put those two numbers together.
Yeah. So we've just been chatting about a whole range of different topics, but this one we both kind of decided, well, it's kind of a perfect match between what you're doing and what we're doing in the podcast. So.
And you've been doing. How long have you been in this industry for? Like a while?
Yeah, in management of like gaming, 2 years, and I was doing music management before that.
Oh, wow.
So
okay, cool.
Yeah, a bit of a mixed bag.
Okay, so you've been doing this for a while. I thought it was going to be a little bit longer than that, but that's okay. It's still long enough, okay? So
enough to have an opinion in the future of gaming, which is what we're talking about now.
I'm just joking with you. But I guess the first question is, if we're going to be talking about the future of gaming, what is the future of gaming? What's the time frame? I feel like it's 10 years? What's 10 years looking like?
I reckon where we're going to be in 10 years.
But we might even go further than that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I guess, okay, fine. So I'm excited about what's happening because I do think that at the moment we are looking at this. It's like this moment of streaming's beginning to happen, subscription services within gaming, with like Xbox Game Pass. We're seeing, 5G taking off. It just feels like we are about to see the next space of gaming.
That's it. Yeah. It feels like there's a lot of different strands going different directions rather than it being just this one kind of conglomerate, which is what, when you look back on the console wars and back, I think the last 10 years, it's kind of all been moving the same direction and now it's starting to really spread.
I think that certain companies are ready for the next step more than others. Like, let's look at like Xbox.
Yeah.
With their streaming, right? With, Project xCloud. Have you played Project xCloud yet?
No.
It's so good.
I'd be surprised if that ran well in Australia, but
I think I was surprised by how well it ran. I had tried Steam Link in the past, right? And you may have tried that too. And like, it just doesn't work when you originally tried it like a couple of years back or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I think I tried early days PlayStation remote play and conceptually it was cool. It did not work very well.
I ended up just using Steam Link to literally like download games.
Yeah.
That's all I used it for.
Yeah.
But Project xCloud is actually feeling like the first moment I'm able to be out in the world with a decent amount, like mostly when I'm near the CBD, I'm finding I'm actually getting the better connections and I'm able to play like, Destiny's on there at the moment and the Halo games and stuff. And that feels like that is going to completely, I just think it's going to take off. A lot of people are really, they don't like the idea of streaming becoming the mainstream way a lot of people play games, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be playing it on your phone. I think in the future, we're going to be playing on like a 65-inch TV, through the smart TV, it doesn't need any console or anything.
Yeah, with a stable, solid
connection. In the next 10 years, I think that's just going to be the space that most developers and publishers are in.
Yeah. Well, I think we talked about this. If you can play Dark Souls over a streaming service, that's when they've done it.
So I played Dark Souls and finished a good chunk of it over Steam Link with the 5G.
That blows my mind that you even attempted that.
I'm just so good at Dark Souls.
Why would you punish yourself in such a way?
You know what? I just I don't know, but that was the moment I became a believer.
Yeah.
And I think the first thing is, with this streaming sensation that's not even a sensation really. It's going to be like the next thing, I think.
Yeah.
The first question is what happens with digital storefronts and what happens with physical storefronts. Let's start with physical storefronts. In 10 years, do I really think there's going to be an EB Games in Australia or Game in the UK or GameStop in the US?
Yeah, I think they're moving. I think they have to pivot pretty quickly.
And they've already tried to do that with that merchandise shit.
Yeah, EB Games in Australia, which is like the equivalent of a GameStop. They've started just basically releasing merchandise, collectibles, plushies, kind of statue kind of things.
Have you ever walked in and bought anything from them?
No, it seems like a weird niche to be like every store.
You know what? I think they're just panicking. They're fuck, what do we do? We desperately need answers. The thing is, when I've gone into look, I use EB Games if I'm going to be real here because they do the 7-day policy. I can go in and buy a game.
Sam's one of those guys,
and then take it back, you know.
Completes every game in 7 days.
I just have to play
it.
as much as I can. No, look, there are some games, of course, that I keep, but it's a great offer. A lot of people take it up on.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think they're on the way out, and you know, you're not going to keep 500 retail stores open with statues and collectibles, right?
This is the thing, like we were talking about this the other day, when you are going in and purchasing a game for $60, like if you're an adult that's working full time, like it's not a huge investment, you know? Like I know that's still like, you know, a decent chunk to be paying on games and stuff, but it's much different to walking in and buying a $400 figurine. Like they've already tried to pivot as much as possible. I think they're just, they don't have a future in 10 years, and people hate to hear that because they want the idea like we've seen with vinyls where you can still walk in and purchase a game and it's still, you know, going to be physically able to be purchased in a store. I think in the future, maybe you have to like order it online and it gets delivered to you.
Yeah.
Or maybe like JB Hi-Fi in Australia will have a small section where you can buy really popular games that they know are going to sell.
Yeah.
But there's no real space for you to go and buy games. Like, remember, what was that place called? It's a CD place in
Sanity.
Iconic. I was thinking Infinity or something. Sanity, yes. Man, that was a perfect example.
I think they paid their employees about $2 an hour.
Oh, mate, they probably needed to because they were going out of business. But there was one in Fox Studios, and that was huge. That's a gym now, right? Like, there's not the market for it.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe we'll start to see a lot more collector's editions and physical versions being really cool because they'll lower the prices and make that an appealing way of buying into a game because you're getting something, a physical product, you know, that relates to the game.
But like on top of what we're talking about, a way to play games is one thing, but the way to purchase games is going to be digitally the next frontier. Yeah. Do I think that Steam will have a huge hold on in the future? I think it will if it actually plays its cards right, because if everyone's able to play a lot of their games on their phone and there's going to be multiple subscription services to different publishers, Steam loses its dominance a bit because it's not essential now.
Yeah. You know? How many streaming options are there at the moment? We've obviously got Game Pass,
PlayStation
Xbox,
now,
EA.
Look,
EA Play,
EA was working on one. They announced it in like 2017. I don't think I've heard anything since about it. I don't know if they've just kind of realized that it's better to partner up. You know, like we've seen with Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass
has all the EA titles.
A lot of the EA titles are on there, so that really says to me that they're not.
It clearly wasn't working. However, they were doing it. Yeah,
maybe there's just the money's just. There's too much money to throw into the infrastructure to make that work. Yeah. And that brings us to the next thing, actually, because aside from Steam having dominance, I do think Steam's going to have dominance in the future. But that's only if they actually really continue with the Steam Link and create a product that, really competes with the streaming that we're seeing from Project xCloud.
I think an interesting comparison is, we look at what happened with film and TV. It moved to a digital storefronts. You've got iTunes Store, you've got like the Google Play Store. But then very quickly, streaming services then kind of cannibalize that. And it's pretty rare for people to go and rent a movie now, like through the iTunes Store. It doesn't happen nearly as often. Most people just wait for it to be on a streaming service. Then they're like, sweet, there it is, and they grab it. So I wonder if the same thing is inevitable with games.
I think you're right. We've seen it with iTunes. We've seen it with like Blockbuster and stuff in terms of things that have just gone digital. And then once they've gone digital, they've gone streaming, and streaming usually is coupled with, at the moment, subscription services.
It seems inevitable, hey? Yeah.
But that's just, aside from the whole subscriptions, let's just say subscriptions are the way of the future.
Yeah.
Square Enix has them. Bandai Namco. Of course,
every publisher
has. Everyone has them, right? Yeah. They've got one of two choices. They make their own streaming services in 10 years,
or they partner
up.
Yeah.
I think they're going to partner up because there's so much money that you have to outlay for that infrastructure, for PlayStation and for Microsoft to actually make that work.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see, a CD Projekt Red streaming service that's dedicated on its own servers. I think it's going to partner up with bigger people.
Yeah, they'll basically give that license to a publisher who can afford that kind of upfront capital, because you put a AAA game on day one of a subscription service, you're making no money, right? It's a long-term.
Yeah,
it's a long-term goal.
The physical outlay of the actual making of the discs and all that kind of stuff, like that's also going to become less relevant when streaming. back to what we're talking about before in terms of physical storefronts, there's just so much costs outlay to actually make that work.
Yeah.
But the bigger picture, do you think there'll be like, okay, if streaming is so big in the future, and although again people don't love the idea of streaming becoming the way to do it, but if it's so seamless, so lag free with 5G and in the future 6G, and you're playing on your 65-inch, would you outlay for a PS7? I think there'll be a PS6, but do you think there'll be a PS7?
No, not a chance.
I don't think so either.
Not a chance.
I think
it just doesn't make sense, right?
The amount of money that they have to throw into R&D and like marketing and creating the actual product, you know,
no, you've
so like hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more, to make the PS7 a success.
The way I see it happening is that they'll release like a hockey puck kind of Apple TV,
like Stadia did.
Yeah. Which you basically plug in, super fast connection, super low latency, which with whatever preference, if it's like PlayStation servers, Xbox, you know, connects to a controller, and that's basically the whole system, and it just streams everything. You can like, maybe there's options to like download certain things on there, but for the most part, it's a streaming service, which is designed specifically for that one platform.
And I think that Xbox already knows this. Like, you know, they have the whole most powerful console in the world thing going on, but like they're trying to get their subscription service so fattened up with their community that like they don't have to worry about the console wars in the future. We've also recently seen that PlayStation's come out now and said that they're also going to be investing a lot of money into their PlayStation Now. They want to really compete with that, because I saw the other day that, you know, Xbox Game Pass was making like $2.7 billion a year for them, something like that, like $130 million a month or some shit. Because there's so many people using it, because you're getting so much value out of it. So I think, you know, the idea of no more consoles in the future, something really needed to take its place that was so unbelievably lucrative that it just didn't make sense. And I do think that the Game Pass or the subscription service is that thing that will be the catalyst to actually make all those things happen.
When you think about it, it's amazing for the consumer. You don't have to buy a console.
Well, this is the problem. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you finish, actually. I'm just like cutting you right off. I'm like, well, you know what? Shut up, Rich.
No, as in like it's so much more accessible. You just buy a $40, you know, Chromecast you plug into your TV with a $10 a month subscription, and you get everything in the highest, you know, quality streaming service, 4K, you know, top tier graphics. It kind of like it's everything in one without that massive investment you kind of have to pour yourself into.
My issue with that is, although I think I had a different opinion yesterday. my only issue, yes, you are saving money of not having to outlay so much money in terms of the console.
Yeah.
Right? Consoles in Australia are like $600, right?
Yeah.
But what happens with the subscription services if it doesn't go the way of just 2 or 3 major publishers and developers all holding the cards and holding the infrastructure?
Right, where you have to start deciding between...
There's like 10 different publishers that all have different streaming services. Or Xbox is actually, you know, leasing out their technology, and then GOG becomes a streaming service, like the CD Projekt Red storefront. All these different places then just create all these subscription services, and you got to go like, shit, I don't want to be subscribed for $120 a month because I want to be on these.
Get every single one, yeah. I mean, that's the same problem we have with streaming.
That's
TV
actually
shows
becoming
and
a
movies.
problem, isn't it? Like, I did Disney Plus for like a month to watch WandaVision.
Yeah.
Turned it off after. Don't need it anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
But I always keep Netflix. So maybe there'll always be... Well, actually, my girlfriend has... I'm the parasite to my girlfriend.
I mean, really, though, when you think about it, if you're buying 3 or 4 new games, you know, at release, you've kind of... That's the expense of how many
No one usually...
services there.
I mean, I don't buy 4 games a month.
No.
I don't.
Yeah.
Right. And even though as a YouTuber, when I get sent stuff, right, which doesn't happen a lot, no, I even before YouTube, I would not go out and buy 4 games a month.
Yeah.
You know, some people will, fine. And this is going to make a lot of financial sense.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's going to be interesting. And I think that, you know, so I think we agree that consoles probably, although it might piss people off, I don't think, you know, we're going to see a dedicated console. We might just see it like a DVD player. Like, you can still buy DVD players, but it might just play everything. You know, like maybe PlayStation and Xbox go more to like the PC model, where everything's also accessible on PC. What about VR, man? Like VR, do you think VR or AR is going to be a bigger thing in the future?
They've really had a crack, you know. I think they've tried time and time again with VR to really get through that market. Yeah. It's such a hard market to break into, though. Like the upfront you have to basically spend to get into the VR space is very, very difficult.
Yep.
It's kind of not that great to use for long periods of time.
It's still very janky.
Yeah, you're going to encounter so many issues. A lot of people, you know, don't have a great experience with it. There's a lot of barriers in the way to knock down before you start getting that easily accessible commercial place. And in that sense, why would you develop a high quality game for VR when your market is going to be so small?
Well, the first game that I saw that really made me like realize that this could be a real thing was Half-Life.
Half-Life, yeah.
Half-Life Alyx. When I finished that game, I put it down. I thought, oh my god! Like, and I saw IGN actually say that to play Half-Life Alyx gives you a window into the future of gaming, and I couldn't agree more. Like the puzzles and like the way that you're able to traverse through the world and like look.
But how many people have seen that window though? Not many.
I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. Like I know the barrier to entry is on. It's two pronged because it's not only expensive but it's hard to get. Like, you know, the Valve Index, that's what it's called, right? That's been sold out time and time again. People just can't get it.
And the simple fact is that if Steam had released or Valve had released this game, you know, on the PC, it would have performed, you know, way better in every aspect, you know.
Yeah, but I want to go 100%. Like, but you wouldn't have been able to have that experience. Like it was so unique. It needed to be on VR, and
it's
it really was.
I guess it's more that development time. If they'd poured it into a PC game, you know, it would have outperformed it.
Yeah. So I think those are the games that move VR forward. But one thing we did see a few years ago, Xbox talking a bit about AR, augmented reality, and then it didn't really happen, right? But like. Let's move forward in more than 10 years with AR. Like I think AR is going to be gigantic, and people just. Maybe they're not seeing it yet. I think that when we figure out the technology where I'm able to put glasses on and I don't want to invest money in a 65-inch television, but with the augmented reality, I can look at my wall and there's a 65-inch television just looking like, and it's crisp.
Yeah.
And the glasses may have cost me $800, but now I also have a chess set. I mean, I've thought a bit about this, to be honest. You put a glove on and you're able to play chess with the person next to you because that's like registering the thing. Not only that is like it's streaming, so I can play all the Xbox games on that TV that's there while I'm looking like, and it's 5G connection and all that kind of stuff through glasses.
And this TV company's going to hate you for that.
Yeah, they're going to hate me that. Yeah. But I think augmented reality is going to have maybe it's going to be the middle way where people maybe VR never figures itself out. Maybe AR is the way that people.
No, I agree. I think AR has a way better chance of breaking through that casual market because it'll be easier to adapt for a lot of people. You're not being pulled out of the real world. You're basically it's an additional experience to kind of what you're already doing. So I think when that technology eventually comes around, which is inevitable, I do think it has a much better chance to go mainstream a lot faster than VR.
I think I want to talk about mobile, but before we get there. Just on the topic of like saving people money, when this technology comes out, what the hell happens to graphics cards? Like I haven't seen a lot of people like really talk about that. Like what happens to graphics cards in 5 or 10 years when streaming is so accessible and it's $10 a month to play 200 or $300 Xbox games? It just doesn't make sense to outlay $2,000 on the new 4080. Like I don't see a market for graphics cards in the mainstream consumer space in the future.
They'll all just be mining Bitcoin in Siberia.
They'll all be doing that, literally. Actually, colder areas because it gets so hot in the Bitcoin area. Not to talk about Bitcoin, but yes. That's...
Siberia is pretty cold, is it not?
Oh, wait, yeah. Sorry. Well, I was thinking of Sahara for a second. Sorry. Did you say Siberia?
Siberia.
Anyway, yes. Well, you don't mine Bitcoin in Sahara.
In Sahara, yeah.
But I think that's going to be a huge part of the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess touching back on, where we think the future of gaming is going to be on all platforms. Yeah, let's talk mobile because...
Well, look, man, I think that mobile has such a bad stigma to it because it was born out of like people wanting to play things quickly when they're waiting for the bus and whatever. Now we're starting to see that really move forward in a lot of ways, right?
And they pioneered the freemium model where they just cash grab wherever they possibly can, which unfortunately has now bled into basically every game that comes out.
Look, we have seen some good games though, like Wild Rift.
Yeah.
Have you played Wild Rift?
Yeah. The mobile league, yeah.
Yeah. And oh man, Diablo Immortal.
Yeah.
Bro, I was really surprised by how accomplished that game in terms of the features.
I mean, they kind of had to prove themselves, didn't they?
Oh man, they had a huge task, definitely.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying, right? It's basically like they basically created this model where it's a quick and easy pick up and play, but to actually progress, that's when there are these barriers that start popping up, and that's kind of where you need to spend.
Yeah.
I guess the future of gaming in the mobile space, that's going to continue, right? Because they want to tap into those people who are on the train, who are on the bus, that really short form experience. But it's interesting because, you know, with the introduction of streaming, does that then tie into what these mobile experiences are? Do they get better through that process rather than just having it all on your phone?
That's the thing. I honestly wonder if people are the big sacrifice for mobile games is it's portable, but the graphics suck. Kind of thing. The graphics suck. You know, even though they're getting better.
It looks like a mobile game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a middle way where you can still play a quick experience, you know, on the train, but it's getting streamed at like 4K graphics, you know. And we'll see this huge space evolve where it's like quick click and play. You can just, you know, have fun with it. But the fidelity is just as good as an Xbox Series X because it's getting streamed, you know. That'll be exciting to see. And maybe that'll...
streaming Candy Crush in 4K, right?
Streaming Candy Crush or the... what's the pony one? The Steam one.
I don't know.
Oh, anyway, I can't remember now. But
yeah, that's what I'm holding out for. You know?
There's a lot of Steam games. I don't know. There's a lot of adult Steam games.
I reckon Raid Shadow Legends in 4K.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
But so in that regard, I think it's only a matter of time before either the mobile freemium crap and like the microtransaction garbage that we do see and the kind of low quality clone crap that we always see, like the Call of Duty clone and shit that's on the mobile, which of course isn't as relevant now because Call of Duty have made their own mobile game. But that kind of stuff may just get washed away because a better alternative is on mobile.
Yeah.
With the same time that I have on the bus, I'm still able to experience that, but in 4K.
Yeah, maybe we'll start to seeing publishers release the same game on mobile as on, you know, desktop console, but in a short form experience, just really compress that gameplay loop. So, you know, it really appeals to mobile players, and you can have, trying to think of what a good release version is, like a Call of Duty game, right? Rather than it being like a 10-minute match, it's a 2-minute match on mobile. Yep. Exactly the same graphics, everything looks the same, but it's just tweaked in a way that really drives mobile experience.
Or it's in the exact same game, but it's in the main menu, like. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you switch to that.
You switch to the game modes that are more mobile and quick and like bus friendly. You know?
Yeah.
That's also a possibility in the future.
Yeah.
But before we go to the final question, which is E3.
Yeah, right.
I want to quickly touch on monetization. What do you think is going to happen in the future? I think that the audience has been so vocal. You know, I think there's been a lot of pushback, but we're still seeing loot boxes. We're still seeing EA's garbage. We're still seeing really buggy and glitchy messes. But the glitchy messes are aside.
I think in the last, decade, we copped the worst of it. You would hope.
Definitely.
It was just so heavy-handed the way that they would pump these into games. You go and buy a game day one, you get home, load it up, and you see, you know, 3 or 4 DLCs already in there, sitting there waiting for you. And I think everyone just got so frustrated by that experience because there was no legitimate reason for that to exist.
Well, I mean, look, the development companies love to come out and say, well, development takes longer, it's more expensive. But like from 2013, there's plenty of data to show that they're becoming more and more efficient of playing at making games. And yes, we have seen now PlayStation come out with their increased pricing model and stuff. And so who knows, right? Like, but I think in the future, if I looked 10 years down the road, what do I see in terms of monetization? I definitely think we're still going to have issues there. I do.
Yeah.
I think the audience being really vocal is great, but it's such a hardcore minority that the majority of the FIFA players and stuff, and I'm putting down FIFA players, like, you know, FIFA's fun, right? But some of those players and the Call of Duty players and stuff, some of them don't really care about the gaming conversation. Like they're not part of that, right?
That's
and
right.
Cool.
Yeah.
I know we're generalizing with a couple of games, but like there's such a huge casual audience out there that you know don't really care if there's microtransactions, but because they don't care, it actually affects everyone else in terms of how these games are monetized.
Yeah.
I think in the future we're going to have these problems time and time again, and they're going to be probably more intrusive because this streaming instant gratification, instant able to be playing straight away.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to be really seeing that smaller and smaller events in games are going to be monetized, because it's just like a Google Pay that's connected to your Android device or whatever, or Apple Pay.
Yeah.
Quick click of the button.
Super fast, super
no
convenient.
authentication.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just it's so easy.
Yeah.
That shit, just like it's only 9 cents to reload your weapon. You're like,
Yeah.
fuck, whatever. Those kind of things. You know what I mean?
To reload your weapon.
Yeah, like who knows, right?
Mate,
I mean,
never let Sam develop a game. That is savage.
no, but you never know. Like this is the stuff in the future.
No, my take is that I think we're going to see so many more games come out free to play from the get go. These big high quality AAA games, because realistically, if you can guarantee a player base, you can develop a revenue stream post launch, and the sour taste isn't in people's mouths because they've got this awesome experience and they see a cool skin or cool character. They're way more inclined to be like, hey, this is actually a great addition to this experience. I'm going to buy that. You times that by a way bigger player base than you would have had if it was a $60 game on launch, and it makes sense, right? You can have these games like Rainbow Six that live on for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because you've got this really clever system that doesn't really put off the player base and keeps them interested and invested on a great gameplay loop that they got, relatively free. I don't know if Rainbow Six ever went fully free to play, but
I think it's on Game Pass at the moment, actually.
yeah, the price basically just dropped to net nothing,
like Destiny
right?
2 for a lot of the kind of vanilla content. And
Exactly.
A lot of the DLCs are also free.
Yeah. I mean, you've obviously got like the Fortnite and all those kind of ones where people know that it's a really high quality production that they get for free, and then everything else is monetized. But it's a bit more palatable, I think, for a lot of people.
I think there's a few things that we have already figured out in terms of monetization. The audience is completely fine from the majority. If it's a free game, you can monetize this with cosmetics, but don't make it pay to win. That's pretty clear.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But in the future, I think the struggles that we're going to see with monetization are going to be surrounding things like, not having a clear roadmap of monetization before the game's out. How like they let things get reviewed and they don't show what the monetization is. I think that maybe we'll see governments or whatever, right? Like some regulatory bodies move and make a lot of changes with loot boxes, and I think they'll also make changes with, fairly addressing early on what the consumer is actually getting
for sure,
monetization wise.
Yeah, completely agree.
But before we finish, E3, man, is that even going to be a thing? Like, I know we're seeing it this year, but like, do you really think that in the future we're going to see in 10 years' time an E3?
I think the work that got done last year, I think moving everything digitally, all the publishers moving digitally, I think that is very hard to reverse. I think you've got these, set in motion now, this system where, they save a massive amount of overheads and they can run it on their terms. They can run it as long as they want on their own days. It's kind of like it's in their control rather than it being at the mercy of a slotted time at E3, these publishers.
Yeah.
And they can present exactly how they want. It's very hard to go from that, which they've obviously produced and developed, and they probably have a great system in place now, or a functional system, to then reverse that back to a live event where it kind of feels like they're spending more and not getting the same out of it.
I think there's on multiple fronts, it doesn't make sense for an E3. As much as everyone loves it, you haven't been yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
I've been a couple of times. I love E3, right?
Yeah.
It's the most energetic, exciting space to be in gaming for those 4 or 5 days. The event goes for 3 days, but really it's like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
On multiple fronts. Number one, the amount of money it takes for a company to represent itself on the floor. We're not even talking about the air flights, accommodation and stuff, like building the actual sets, like the huge areas in there. Like Nintendo's space is like as big as a football field. Like it's ridiculously big, right?
Insane,
you know, the amount of money it takes to do that, when over the last 10 or 12 years, they've been building their own social media presences. It doesn't make sense in the future for them to outlay so much money to an event that they ultimately don't have full control over.
That's right.
In terms of they have to slot in on E3's timetable, and everyone's trying to get out of each other's way, and it's like, oh, and another thing is all the hype is just has to be divided between so many games and titles and publishers and developers and like keynote speakers, and it's like there's so much going on. The moment, for instance, Nintendo, right, which they already do their own electronic kind of presentation.
Yeah.
The moment they step away from E3 make it their own time. They have the power of knowing that they've cleared their schedule away from everyone else. They can just deliver a keynote and know that they are the focus for that day, if not that week, right? The costs are a lot lower because it's a digital event, right? They only pretty much need to have a stage and a camera crew.
I think the saddest part about losing a live event like E3 is you don't get the cringe compilations that come afterwards.
You can still get them because I don't know if you saw like last year's E3, like they had fake audiences, like black silhouetted people.
Yeah.
And like they all just like pretending to clap. I'm like, that is the fakest thing I've ever seen in my life. So we're still going to see that. And of course, a lot of devs and stuff that want to get up and talk.
Just those beautiful live moments in front of a real audience.
You never get them back. I agree with that. Back. Like some of them were great. Anyway, look.
Oh, now I've got to go watch a bunch of them. They're so good.
But you know, to answer your question, 10 years, there'll always be conventions because people like to meet up. Like our basic human want, even if we're gamers and we're antisocial, like we like to play games. Like we do want to go out and hang out with fellow gamers. Like people like that, you know. Like I love going to PAX.
Sense of community.
Yeah. Like I love going to PAX in Melbourne because you just like get to see so many awesome things, and that's going to be, I think, a part of the future. But I don't think it's going to come from the point of view of companies commercially seeing this a viable option in terms of pouring money into E3. They'll do their own thing. And conventions in the future will probably be more like their fan-driven conventions.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, guys. Well, we just wanted to come to you today from a different studio. This is what we do every week, pretty much.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah.
So check it out. I put a link in the description. This is a special ep today. We may have you on the show in the future.
Yeah. What are some of the topics we've done on the podcast? We've done some interesting ones.
Bigfoot.
5G.
No, not really. 5G. UFOs. God, what else have we done?
Crypto, we went into a little bit. It was fun.
Yes. We've done being very unattractive, my experience.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That was actually just a solo one, yeah. So
check it out, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.
Laymen out. Laymen out.